one looks interesting and kind of simple, I guess.
Yeah, really simple. I mean, just kind of your standard pigs in a blanket, and if you want, kind of wrap some cheese in there. I put cheese on anything and everything, so the cheesier the better for me.
All right.
And it goes as far as my writing, too.
Yeah. Ooh, well, hi. I am here today with author Charles Kelley, and actually, you just caught us looking through his. This is Quick and Simple Meals. It's really quick.
Yep.
I say it thin for that. And I guess I was a little interested because some of you may or may not know that I have the dessert recipe books. But yeah, that's one of the things too. I thought it's always fun to see what recipes other people come up with, and so I knew I wanted to kind of just bring that up when I brought you in here. I am actually really excited about we haven't seen each other in a long time. It's been how many years?
It's been a few years, at least 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, it's probably going up. Yeah, it's going up on that because we did the author fair. It was in September, wasn't it?
I believe so. Yeah, that sounds right.
And that was a lot of fun. And I love to do author fairs, not just because I like to sit there with my table, but because I like to meet other authors and see what they have, and just it's just a fun kind of camaraderie and all that. We had a good time there.
Yeah,
I think.
Definitely.
That was great. I remember with the venue of Half Price Books, they called us the Cavalcade of Authors or something that day.
That sounds right, yep.
That was something. So, and I actually asked to bring some of your books. How long have you actually been writing? I don't think I ever talked to you about that at the fair.
Yeah, so I started writing short stories probably close to a decade ago. And it was just something I've always liked to read. Mm-hmm. And so one day I just got this crazy idea that I was going to try to write a story. And so I did, and it was not very good. But I sent it to some friends. They gave me some constructive feedback, which as an author is very important to be able to take that feedback and not take it personally. So I was able to turn it into actually a serviceable story for like a first time.
What was it about?
It was about a couple of couples that go on a cruise together, and there is some jealousy and some misdeeds that happen on the cruise, and not everybody makes it back.
Ooh.
Yeah. So.
Now, because you're kind of smiling when you're telling that. Did it start out? Was it supposed to be humorous in a way with that bad stuff happening, or?
No, it was. I was just kind of going for just my version of kind of a murder mystery.
Oh, okay.
And it worked out okay. It's not bad.
Now, I was to interrupt because you say you're talking about a couple decades ago, and I'm saying this not knowing how old you are, so. What I was going to ask is, like, for me, I actually started writing. I was like 9 years old when I was coming up with story ideas. And did you have that, like, grade school age or high school age where you were doing that?
Yeah, when I was in elementary school and going into middle school, I actually toyed around with making my own magazines and things like that.
Oh, you did that too?
Yep.
I see. Okay, confession. I know this is your interview, but you did that. It's just fun. Because I had a friend, we were in junior high, and we had the idea that if we came up with, like, created our own version of, like, Tiger Beat, you know what that is?
Yeah.
That we'd get to meet all these teen idols and do the magazine. Anyway.
It usually doesn't work that way.
No. So what kind of magazine did you have?
Mine was video games. And so I actually wrote to Sega and got their permission to use their games, and they wrote back and said,
that's
go
awesome.
for it. Nintendo was not as welcoming, but I tried, and I was, 9, 10, 11 years old. And so I did that for a year or two, and it was fun.
Did you ever actually, like, incorporate video games into your stories then?
No, not yet. But I have some ideas for some upcoming stories that probably will tie some video game aspects into them.
Oh, okay. So for right now,
I've got a series here. Okay. A series about outlaw bikers and an undercover federal agent. Let me see if I can fan them out a little bit.
I can hold one.
The first 3 books are currently available. Crossroads is book 1. Crossfire, if you look close, it's the same logo, but Crossfire is a little bit weathered. There's a bullet hole, some blood, tear. Crossover is book 3, so same concept, but slightly different design. There's a reason for that in the story. And I just finished the final pass-through of proofreading for book 4, which will be crossed out. And I'm working on setting a release date in the next couple months for that.
Okay.
Outlaw Bikers, Undercover Federal Agent. And then kind of like I said a few minutes ago with the cheesiness, they're full of dry sarcasm, bad dad jokes, cheesy innuendos.
I love sarcasm.
It's all in there. It's really dry though.
You'll find I love it, and like when I'm posting on social media, I'll say something and realize other people don't get it.
Yes.
So I have to actually put eye roll or explain that I'm.
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't created a sarcasm font yet.
Yeah,
I know people have been
just
asking for that for a long time.
There's something, because literally I love that. So I didn't know that was in. Is this the only series? Do you have other books, and do you use the same?
This is it for now. Crossroads was the first novel that I wrote, and it's been out. I think it's been out for about 8 years now.
Oh, okay.
Is that right? Nope, my math is bad. 6 years.
Okay.
And so I've been working on this series ever since then. And book 4 that will be coming out in the next couple months is the end of this series.
Oh, okay.
And then I will move on to different series, different, probably similar genre, but different subject matter, getting away from the biker world.
Okay.
And do more of a kind of crime drama, murder mystery a little bit.
Okay.
This is kind of more straightforward action adventure.
Okay. Now, are you a biker?
Yes, in a sense. But not an outlaw biker by any means.
Well, okay.
So it's a world that I'm familiar with,
Okay.
but I've never been involved with outlaw lifestyle. So that's a little bit of where the fiction comes in.
Oh, okay. But now, have you had contact, I was going to say? I mean, you didn't necessarily participate, but quote-unquote outlaw bikers, so for your reference material, I guess.
Yeah. I have some contacts with various organizations and clubs that I've been able to get some information from and kind of use them as sounding boards and things like that.
Okay. And have they read the books?
No. Outlaw bikers generally tend not to read a whole lot.
Oh, okay. Well, sometimes people who don't read will read something if there's a connection.
They've read bits and pieces. Like if I've asked them to kind of fact check like little parts.
Oh, okay.
They've read little parts and kind of given me feedback on that. But as far as the series overall, I'm not aware that they've read them anyway.
Oh, okay. Now, I know you were just before we started rolling here. You were saying you don't really push this one, the cookbook.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was just happy at the author fair we were mentioning because I have the dessert recipe books, and it's like nobody else has a cookbook. You're like, I do. Like, okay. Yeah, I was glad for that.
The cookbook was actually the first book that I published.
Oh.
And that was not really intentional. It wasn't by design. I was at home trying to think of some recipes that I could make to impress my then girlfriend at the time. And I found that I was starting to forget how to make the few things that I knew how to make. And so I started writing them down, and I kind of thought about it. I was like, there's probably a lot of people that don't really know how to cook, that these really, simple ingredients, these simple recipes could really help. And so I started putting them together, and it turned into that cookbook. And I think the idea of the cookbook is sound.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of people that could benefit from it. High school graduates, college students, bachelors, single parents, whatever. But with it being the first thing I ever published, I didn't really know what I was doing. So the finished product is fine, but the vision that I have now for it would be a lot different. And so that's kind of why I stopped pushing it.
Yeah. No, what's interesting is noticing that without ever having met each other, we did something similar, because in my first dessert recipe book, I have these pages that are for the reader's notes, and you've done the same thing.
Yeah.
That was interesting. So, yeah, I mean, I get the idea about simple, because I have recipes that start with cake mixes and things people can do.
Yep.
So I thought that again, was very, very fascinating. So you've already said you're working on the 4th one here for this series.
Yep.
And that final proofreading you're talking about, when you're doing that's always the toughest, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
People
hard.
don't realize that that's like, yeah.
It's hard because as the writer, you know what's supposed to be there, and so
Right.
it's really hard to go through and find the mistakes. And so I usually try to take a period of time off to where my eyes can get away from it, my brain can focus on different things, and I can kind of forget some of the details. So that way, when I do read through it, it's a little kind of fresher to me.
Right.
And so that helps a little bit. And I actually just finished the read through yesterday, and I found a handful of things.
Right.
So I think that it's going to be pretty clean, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I through my process, I do 2 rounds of edits myself, and then I have a team of editors, proofreaders, beta readers that I send it to. They give me their notes. I make those adjustments, and then I do the final pass through. So it should be pretty clean.
Okay.
And good to go pretty soon.
Yeah, I think people sometimes don't realize how much time that actually takes.
Yeah.
Because that first draft of anything is really like a brainstorm,
Yeah.
where you're just getting it all down and trying to make sure you've got it
Right.
You know, and then, and like you said, it absolutely does. You know what it's supposed to say. And your brain will see it with all the correct punctuation and
Yep.
the correct spelling and. Absolutely. So you're lucky, though, to have a team of people that actually apparently can be relied on.
It works out really well, yeah. We just kind of trade services with each other, and they'll call me up whenever they finish a project and send it my way, and I try to, repay the favor and somebody, and that's important as independent author, is having a support network of people that you can count on that will give you constructive feedback.
Right.
Because you want people to enjoy your story, but whenever people say, "Oh yeah, it's great, I loved it," that's not the most helpful.
Right. And I was going to say, too, you probably run into where the difference between constructive feedback, about finding where, your sentence didn't make sense or, your punctuation was wrong, something, as opposed to, well, I don't like that you named this person
Right.
Carol.
Right.
And it's like, sorry, the person's name is Carol.
Yep.
That's not. And I say that you're smiling because you've probably run into that, and now I've run into that with
Yep.
stories. I mean, that's not what we're looking for.
Yeah, and it's important as an author, not to take feedback personally.
Right.
And for me, it's all about putting out the best product that I can. And if somebody identifies a plot hole, that it might mean I have to do some rewrites, and that's not fun, because that could change a lot of different aspects from the story. But if it means I can put out a better product, then that's what I want to know.
Right.
And so that's whenever I come across people and they're like, "Oh yeah, I just finished reading your book." And I always want to ask, what did you like and what could have been done better? Because that just helps me learn and improve the next time.
Yeah, I tend to do that even with the recipes. I'll say because I don't have instructions as far as how to cook in my books, for instance. It's simply a recipe book. It's not, if you don't know how to cook, it's not going to teach you. And I'll ask people, how did the recipe work for you? Different ovens will give you different results, or different water will give you different results. And
well, different taste buds.
Different taste buds.
Yeah.
So, I understand that you want, I'm always asking about that too.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, now I don't know, you've never written anything that, or you're not planning to do anything that's memoir-esque.
No.
Okay.
No.
So you don't have to look out for this where you're telling telling a true story that happened in your life, and having somebody either feedback, no, you need to change that, and it's like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
This is, so you're not going to run into that yet.
I don't plan on it. No.
No. So I am going to, in the description, of course, let people know where they can get books if they want.
In my website, it's really simple. It's ckfiction.com. Obviously, the CK is for me.
Yay!
And then there's a store page. You can click on that. It'll take them to Amazon and
Okay, and they can
access.
Okay, so that will be in the description, because some people are going to listen to you say that and still go, where can I get books?
Yep. Hopefully.
Now, and what would really be great, maybe you'll get some bikers who will decide to read
I'm always
it?
going for it. You know what? Like, so that has always been my target audience, but that's not who I get to come to my table. I
Right.
get their girlfriends or their
Oh, really?
wives. That's who I get to come to my table because they're immersed in that world. So, you know, they see my cover and it's identifiable as a biker, like, oh, okay, that's a motorcycle club. And so they'll stop over by my table, and then that's who gets pulled in.
Okay.
And that's what I found so far, and that's been pretty interesting because I've written it from a male perspective. It's first person. As the reader, you are the biker main character.
Okay.
And so there's not really a romance aspect to these stories. There is a love interest because you kind of have to have one. But there's not a lot of romance or anything, and so I really didn't anticipate to have so many female readers. So that's been a surprise for me.
Not all females really like that romance stuff. I mean, that's an interesting thing because a lot of writers will do that to target female readers. We all don't love that.
Yeah, I've learned that.
Some of it's kind of nauseating.
I'm glad you said it. That way I don't have to.
Yeah. I know, I'm telling it like I feel it, and so that's it. Anything else you would like us to know?
I don't know. I would like to encourage people. Just something that I run into when I'm doing fairs, or trying to see what people like to read and things like that, is people that just kind of comment that, well, I don't really have a lot of time to read. And so I would just like to encourage people, just kind of make time for things that you want to do.
Right.
And
That includes write.
that it absolutely includes writing, yeah. And you don't have to know what you're doing. Whenever I put out the cookbook and whenever I followed it up with my first novel, I don't have a background in writing. I just have always loved to read. And so, I never took any creative writing classes. I didn't know anything about character development, plot structure, pacing, any of that. And it was just something that I started writing, and I learned about that stuff as I went along.
Okay. So that prompts another question. In effect, were you writing then something you obviously would like to read?
Yeah, that was kind of the whole thing. So my series, obviously Outlaw Bikers, it's kind of a very niche kind of market. And so the way that I kind of summarize this series is, if you think of the show Sons of Anarchy, very popular biker show that was on FX several years ago. If you take that show, give it a sense of humor and a little less murder, that's kind of what I was going for.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a story that I wanted to read, and by then Sons of Anarchy had ended, and I had enjoyed most of that show. The end of it got a little bad, but that's just my critical feedback in case Kurt Sutter ever comes across this.
Oh.
But
well, we can tag him in the video, and then I guess it would be his fans that might find it, and then
yeah, they might agree, they might not. I might get some backlash from that. I don't know, but
as long as we get views.
If hits, clicks, buy the books. So, but yeah, I would like to encourage people, just make time for the things that you want to do. And if you don't have time to read, then just, if it's something you want to do, then find things that are taking up time that you don't want to do, and try to find ways to be able to flip around your schedule a little bit.
Oh, right. I have absolutely loved getting together with you again. That's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to, live events with you in the future. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And I will see you next time, wherever.
Thanks for having me.